What of Democrat incitement to violence? No Democrat will ask whether Maxine Waters incited violence when she literally told her supporters, and I quote, that if you see a member of the Trump administration at a restaurant, at a department store, at a gas station, or any place, you create a crowd and you push back on them. Is that not incitement?
Senator Rand Paul blasting Democratic hypocrisy on the issue of inciting violence as the left pushes impeachment on the same charge. Even some Democrats now admit the likelihood of a conviction slim after 45 Republican senators backed a measure to dismiss the trial. Watch.
I think yesterday's vote, in which 45 Republican members of the Senate voted that, in their view, proceeding with an impeachment trial of a former president is unconstitutional, is a strong indication that it will be an uphill climb for President Trump to be convicted and in any way sanctioned as a result of this.
Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky joins me now. Senator, thank you for coming on. We very much appreciate it. You got a bit of an endorsement there from your Democratic colleague, Chris Coons there. So it does look like an uphill battle, and yet on we go.
Yeah, impeachment's dead on arrival. It'll just now be all theater. But it really is a double standard when you think about it. Kamala Harris has offered to pay people's bail who tried to burn down the courthouse and were rioting in the cities. She offered to pay the bail. Is that inciting people to violence if you're willing to pay people to get out of jail after they've already committed violence? Should Kamala Harris be impeached? So, no, the answer is no. We would never do that because we're reasonable people. The Democrats are wanting to impeach the president because they're deranged with hatred and bitterness, but the president never said anything close to what Kamala Harris did. The president never said anything close to what Bernie Sanders did in saying, well, the Republican plan is you get sick and die. Well, that incited one of his followers to almost kill Steve Scalise, wound 4 or 5 others, and nearly have a massacre of 20 congressmen because he was incited by intemperate words of Democrats. But none of us would have said they should have been impeached, and none of us said that Kamala Harris is responsible for the violence or that Bernie Sanders is responsible for the violence, because we don't think that that is a reasonable thing to say. But every one of them said it about Trump. So just remember, it's a double standard.
And I want to stay on impeachment, but I also want to quickly get your thoughts on the violence happening the past several days in Portland and Seattle that, again, the media has largely and politicians have largely ignored. Very quickly.
Yeah, you know, I think if you ask the people there, I think they're tired of the violence, and ultimately I think they're going to get rid of a lot of these politicians. A lot of them have either resigned or are not running for re-election. So I think the people out there are tired of the violence, but I haven't heard any of the Democrats condemning the violence. They've been calling it the summer of love. So, yeah, it is a double standard, but I'm not going to sit around and take it nicely and just say, oh, we need to really thoroughly examine the president's speech. Well, I'll examine the president's speech when we can examine Kamala Harris's comments on getting bail for people who are burning down cities. So,
Senator, yeah, your name came up. It's come up several times in the past several days. It came up on MSNBC, Joe Scarborough going after conservatives and you in particular. Listen.
Forget? You're out of your mind and you're not a conservative. That's how conservatives do not talk. This is what the Republicans in the Senate want you to forget. This is what Rand Paul wants you to forget.
This is what Rand Paul wants you to forget. Your response?
If anybody's forgotten they're a conservative, it's Joe Scarborough. I actually stood up and opposed the president's position on the Electoral College. I did vote to seat the electors. I thought the argument was wrong. I made that argument. But the thing is Joe Scarborough is so unhinged now and so much a hater of all Republicans and things conservative that he doesn't even listen to the issues. I've made very reasonable arguments against many of the president's positions on a series of very important issues. Scarborough has no clue because he's become deranged and surrounded himself with sycophants. So he has no idea what's going on, and all he does is call names. But if he were fair-minded, he would look at some of the comments Democrats have made. When Cory Booker said, get up in their face, you know, is that not an incitement to violence? Maxine Waters, the mayor of Seattle, saying it's a summer of love as they burn her city down. So no, they're not fair-minded people, but not one time have we said that you should impeach Cory Booker or that you should impeach Kamala Harris or impeach Bernie Sanders, because we're much more fair-minded people. And I let the public decide who's right on that.
Yeah, let me just lastly play this soundbite from Meghan McCain, and then you've got about 15 seconds to wrap it up.
I believe President Trump should be impeached. I believe we have to take a stand and have a fine line about what is acceptable for a president to do or not. He incited a riot. People got violent. People died. But I cannot defend people who are against impeachment.
Defend yourself very quickly, Senator.
Well, I think we ought to look at the facts. Apparently, the violence happened while the president was giving the speech to other people. Apparently, people plotted about this violence weeks in advance on Facebook, which was the primary place that they plotted this. But the other thing is she needs to look at Democrats' language and use the same standard. So if she wants to impeach the president, she should also impeach Maxine Waters, Bernie Sanders, and Cory Booker.
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, thank you for coming on, sir.
Thank you.